Welcome back to Daytime, everyone. So we were talking about common law myths and now divorce myths. Thank you for joining us, Andrew, Mary. You are a well of information, and I'm very stressed, very anxious. How do you do this every single day? How long have you been a lawyer?
Coming on 2 years now.
Good for you. Okay, so we were talking before the break about if you have liquid cash, it's probably better not to buy a matrimonial home?
Absolutely.
Okay,
if you don't get a marriage contract, there's a simple rule. As I said before, you have to subtract, you take your net worth on date of separation, you subtract it from your net worth on date of marriage. But you have to prove what you had on date of marriage. And how do you prove what you had in a bank account? If you separate 15, 20 years after the marriage, you go ask the bank, can I get my statements from my date of marriage from, say, 1995? And they'll say, we don't have it.
We don't have it.
So what you need to do is you need to keep copies of those bank statements, but you better not keep them at home, because I've had lots of people come in and say, I got the proof at my house, and when they've gone home and looked in the filing cabinet, it's gone. And you can't even give it to a friend, because I remember one lady came in, I took all the important documents to my friend's house, and then she found out the friend was the mistress. And all of her important documents were gone.
No. You're making me very jaded.
If you do this for a living, it can happen.
Okay, so let's get into the whole divorce and various myths on divorce. You have a few questions to ask me, I think. You're going to quiz me and see how well I do at answering these questions. I might be shocked, right?
Okay, maybe. If you can prove that your spouse was unfaithful, you get more money in spousal and child support payments.
I'm going to say no. Isn't it no-fault province?
You're absolutely right, but it's no fault for Canada.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it should not matter.
It does not matter.
It does not matter. You don't get more money, you don't have to pay more money. Somebody was unfaithful.
Okay. All right. Can they, though, sue you and say, oh, well, you stressed me out, and so I deserve more because of emotional...
Well, there's one case that went to the Supreme Court of Canada on that point. And in that particular case, it's not what people think they see on TV, where they're going to say, oh, I have emotional problems, I need some money for that. This person had real emotional problems that they were seeing mental health professionals to deal with. So they had to really go to great lengths to show they had these problems, and that these problems were impacting on her ability to work. And in that case, she wasn't able to work, so she needed more spousal support.
Got it. Okay. Do you have another question?
Sure.
This is crazy.
To get evidence of an affair and help the court save time, can you hack into your spouse's email and snoop around?
No! That's an invasion of privacy.
You're
right?
good. You're good. There was a case last year from the Court of Appeal. I don't believe it was a family case, but it created what's called the tort of invasion of privacy, where you can actually sue somebody for money for invading your privacy now.
Oh! So they think that they've got one up on you, so I'm going to hack into there or whatever, but then that person who did that could get sued.
Not only that, remember I used the word before, optics?
Yes.
When you take a family law case or a divorce case to court, judges have a lot of discretion. And if you do things that are really negative in the eyes of the judge, where that judge is going to exercise their discretion to believe you or not believe you, or decide how much support to pay or not to pay.
Okay.
If you've done these type of things, judges are more going to be for the underdog and say, I don't like what you did. And in their mind, they're going to up what you got to pay.
So then even if there was infidelity in that situation and it was proven, doesn't that make you look bad?
First of all, the court would be upset if we spent our time on trying to prove infidelity. The only place infidelity becomes important is if I'm too busy with, let's say I have a mistress and I'm spending all this time with my mistress, and then by the same token I'm trying to say I'm the primary caregiver of my child, but I'm never home because I'm too busy with the mistress.
Okay, got it. Okay, next question. This is fun. This is so fun.
Okay, so here's one for you. If you and your spouse argue a lot to keep the peace in the house, it is easier if one of you moves out of the matrimonial home ASAP.
Never move out of the matrimonial home. Because don't you relinquish your rights to the property if you leave?
Well, you don't relinquish your rights, but where you're right that it's not a good idea to leave, and it depends on facts.
Okay.
First of all, if you're fighting about where the children should live and what the schedule should be, if you move out, the kids are staying. So you've created a status quo that the other parent is now the primary caregiver. The other problem you have is if you want the home sold. Well, if I want to get the house sold and I move out and my wife's in the home, what's her motivation to buy me out or get the house sold?
There isn't.
It. Exactly. She doesn't have to pay a mortgage. There's no motivation to sell.
Right. If you live there, drive her nuts.
There's motivation.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's two caveats. Number one, it's not healthy for you.
No.
It's not healthy for your spouse.
Right.
It's not healthy for your children. The second caveat is, and I will always say this to my clients, is are you concerned that the other spouse will call the police and allege that you've hit them? Because if you think that will happen, you don't need to be paying a family law lawyer and a criminal lawyer and having the whole gambit of a criminal proceeding. If you think your spouse is capable of that, then you may want to leave.
But how do you prove that that person may or may not be capable of something like that?
It's not proving it. It's
just I feel that, so I'm leaving?
If you think they're capable of that, you may want to consider leaving because all they have to do is phone the police and say, my spouse threatened to do something to me.
And the courts are okay with that?
Well,
I left because I wasn't sure if.
They may not be okay with it, but it's better than the alternative.
Right.
And you have to discuss that in detail with your client and analyze whether or not that's a serious risk or not a serious risk.
Okay. Do you have another one? I like that. We should do a show and see how much we know about family law.
It's okay to complain about your spouse on Facebook and Twitter because they are personal and the courts do not have access to them.
Defamation of character.
It's not even that.
Oh.
I'll take it one step worse. There's a case in Alberta where the dad went on Facebook and reamed the mother for being the most awful, horrible person and called her all sorts of horrific things. I think their 12-year-old daughter, or close to that, was one of his friends.
Oh.
He lost custody because of that.
Irresponsible. Oh my goodness. Hothead.
And you have to remember, nothing in Twitter or Facebook is confidential. It's out there in the public domain, and as lawyers, I love that stuff. I mean, Mary's she's worked on files with me where she knows I always like to Google, I like to do Facebook searches on people, because if people are saying foolish things, you think of the guy who says, my business is horrible,
Right.
but you go on his corporate website and he's talking about how great business is and they're the best in the industry.
He's lying, obviously.
One of them is a lie.
So which one do you prefer, common law or marriage?
I think it depends on the people. For myself, I would say marriage, but everybody's different.
How do you keep yourself protected in either situation?
The best way is either a representation agreement or a marriage contract, but you have to understand, A, they need to be fair, and B, sometimes they'll be set aside, so there's no certainty with them.
Okay. And if you don't have any of those going into a relationship, real quick?
Then you're living with the breakdown of the relationship if it happens, and hope it doesn't happen.
And find a really good lawyer to help you through the process. Thank you so much for being here today. Up next, we have the Made by Hand show. We're going to get a little girly. And then the Globetrotters. That's it. It's going to be fun. I'm going to learn how to play basketball after this.